with some handcuffs. But if he's just too strong, then the only choice is to knock him out with a rear naked choke that cuts off the blood supply to his brain. This should leave him unconscious without causing any permanent damage, giving the others time to get him in some restraints. Then hopefully he'll snap out of it and tell them what happened, or at least they'll be able to run some tests at the hospital to see if there's a logical explanation. This would also be a great time to search the principal's house, since this is the first strange thing that's happened since the kids disappeared, so they might find something at his home that gives them some new leads. Also, now that they've found a place where the kids cross paths, they should start working outwards from that point and search for any abandoned houses, parks, storm drains, or other hiding places that are large enough for 17 kids. And once they start talking, they're going to realize that they both saw the same strange woman in their dreams. I mean, there's no way that's a coincidence. So like we mentioned before, they should start asking around to see if anyone's seen this lady, because she's obviously connected to the case. Next, the story switches over to Paul, who's going through the motions of another boring shift when he spots this sketchy-looking dude named James crossing the street. He finds him trying to break into a building through the back window, but when he calls out over the loudspeaker, the dude just takes off running in the opposite direction. Flooring it, Paul speeds around the block, swerving through traffic until he manages to cut him off. Jumping out on foot, he quickly catches up and tackles the guy to the ground, but instead of roughing him up, he politely asks if the man is okay, before walking him back out to the car. The guy swears that he doesn't have anything on him, but as soon as Paul reaches into his pocket, he ends up getting stuck with a disgusting needle. Furious, he hauls off and knocks the guy out, but that was his biggest mistake. Rushing to the glove box, he grabs the first aid kit and starts disinfecting the wound, but that's when he remembers that it was all captured on his dash cam. Realizing that he screwed up, he wakes the guy up and says that he's letting him go, but he warns him that it'll be much worse if they ever cross paths again. Feeling like his life is falling apart, he goes back to the station and starts raging in his car, but that's when he gets a "hey" text from Justine. And we already know what happens next, but after spending the night at her place, he gets home to find that his wife Donna is already back from her business trip. She can tell right away that he's been up to no good, and when he can't come up with an excuse for where he's been, she quickly figures out exactly what his ass did. Later, he's getting ready to start his next shift when he sees James making his way towards the station. Thinking that he's there to report him, Paul immediately jumps in his car and starts chasing him up the street, but nothing could ever prepare him for what's about to happen next. Alright. Paul here pretty much is the worst cop ever, and he needs to get himself under control before he's the one getting put behind bars. Like, it's pretty obvious that he's not happy in his relationship, and he's also a recovering alcoholic, so he's still going to feel the lingering effects, like dopamine imbalance, sleep issues, and anxiety spikes. And without the alcohol, he's lost his favorite coping mechanism. He should really be seeking help, going to a counselor, or even just attending AA meetings like his wife suggests. But instead, he keeps bottling it all up inside and chugging tons of caffeine on top of it. So it was really only a matter of time before something like this happened, and that's why he decided to take his anger out on James. Now, if Paul was doing things by the book, then his first step would have been to call it in over the radio. Then stay back a safe distance, keep an eye on the subject, and wait for backup to arrive before making contact. That way, there would already be multiple officers on the scene. So the absolute last thing he should be doing is speeding down these busy roads where he can hit an innocent bystander at any second. The better choice would have been to let him go if he needed to, because another officer should eventually spot the suspect sooner or later, and then they can safely arrest him instead of putting civilians in harm's way. Now, once Paul finally caught up to the guy, he barely even patted him down before reaching in his pocket and getting jabbed by the needle, exposing himself to all kinds of horrific diseases that you do not want to catch. That would be bad enough as it is, but with all the pressure building up, he snapped and knocked the guy out for no reason, so now he'll be lucky to not end up in jail. If Paul had just called it in and taken it slow, then he'd never even be in this situation, but he has no idea how much worse things are about to get. James. Jumping over to James's perspective, we find him living in a tent on the edge of town. Needing some cash, he walks over through the neighborhood searching for a way to make a quick buck, but eventually decides to try his luck by stealing from one of the local businesses. But that's when he gets caught by Officer Paul. As he's walking back through the neighborhood, he comes across Alex's house and notices that the driveway is full of old newspapers, a telltale sign sign that the place must be abandoned, he goes around and sneaks inside through a back window, but he has no idea that this house is not empty. Making his way downstairs, he goes to the living room and starts digging around when suddenly he notices the parents' reflection on the TV screen. Spinning around, he's shocked to find them just sitting there motionless on the couch, but the strange thing is that they don't even seem to know that he's there. After trying to wake them up, he goes back to filling his pillowcase with DVDs, but that's when he hears something go bump on the second floor. Ignoring it, he goes straight to the kitchen and starts loudly clearing out the silverware, but as he's getting ready to leave, he notices the basement door and decides to take a gander inside. Making his way down the steps, he's shocked to find a bunch of freaking kids all standing around in the darkness. That's when one of them spins around and looks right at him, and terrified, he rushes back upstairs and starts putting some furniture in front of the door. This is when the adults finally get up and start coming after him, but he runs for the door and sprints down the street before they're able to catch up. Back at the pawn shop, he notices that there's a $50,000 reward for any information about the missing kids, and putting it all together, he realizes that he knows exactly where they are. Looking to cash in on the reward, he calls the police to make a report, but they insist that he come down to the police station in person. Well, sure enough, he's walking up to the building when Officer Paul starts chasing him away, so he runs back through the woods to the place where he's been hiding out. Just when it seems like he's lost him, he feels a strange presence somewhere nearby and looks over to see the creepy old woman waving him down. Horrified, he runs back to his tent and grabs a handful of syringes to defend himself, but it is not long before he hears someone opening the flap. Waiting until the very last
RaySkillmanCars.com. Let our family help your family find your new car.
Shop from over 4,000 new and used vehicles from one convenient location.
Get pre-qualified in minutes and customize your budget. Good credit, bad credit, or no credit at all. That's not a problem here. We can help.
Find the value of your current vehicle in seconds with our quick, no-hassle trade tool.
Superb selection, unbeatable prices with flexible financing.